Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video will be entitled, The Fabric of Our Society is a Matrix of Mendacity. Alright, I think everybody that's been following along on my channel for the last 2.5 years understands what I just uttered. And if you don't, please do catch up on my videos. I have over 1,200 videos out there in Cyberland. They're all at BitChute, but BitChute makes it almost impossible to go back and find my content from 2 years ago. All right, so anyway, wanted to tell you that this is a good time to hit the pause button and go get yourself an adult beverage, and you might want to make it a double. You're not going to hear any kind of content like this at any other platform, which 99% of all the other platforms that give you video content are COINTEL Pro. All right, so you're not going to hear this at Tucker Carlson. You're not going to hear this at Alex Jones or Joe Rogan, or you're not going to hear the words coming out of the pie hole of Whitney Webb having anything to do with the matrix of mendacity that I'm going to discuss. You're not going to hear Lex Friedman or Danny Bongino or Trumpster or all the Trump supporters or all the Kamala Harris word salad supporters or the Willie Brown sugar daddy or the Donald Trump Stormy Daniels partnership. You're not going to hear anything from Bill Maher or Lance Gunderson Farmstrong or Jordan Peterson or Victor Davis Hanson or Rachel Madcow or Anderson Cooper or Stu Peters. You're not going to hear anything coming out of their pie holes and their COINTEL Pro platforms, and that includes Jane Rubenstein too, and her cohorts. You're not going to hear that. So with no further ado, let's get busy. All right, so it was Erin Valente that told her mother at 1 o'clock in the morning, Rochester, New York time, "It's all a game, it's a thought experiment, we're in the Matrix." That's what Erin Valente's last words spoken to her mother were before she ended up dead in the back of an SUV, Nissan Murano, four-wheel drive, car parked on Bose Lane in front of a 999 Masonic house, 7 houses up from Diablo Way and Bose Lane in Almaden, South San Jose, Santa Clara County. I'll be real specific, right? She went missing for 5 days and then, like Houdini, reappeared in the back seat of the Nissan Murano. She wasn't in the driver's seat. She was in the rear passenger seat, laid across the bench in the back. Laid across the bench in the back. Erin Valente, age 33. That's a Masonic number. She said, "It's all a game, it's a thought experiment, we're in the Matrix." And she said that after her last meeting with Dean Jacobson, a private banker and Harvard alumni, and an MBA from Stanford University at 2500 Sand Hill Road. Excel KKR, Managing Director, Dean Jacobson. Where are you, Dean Jacobson? What did you discuss in your 90-minute meeting with Erin Valente? Did you offer her a cup of coffee? Did you offer her a bottled water that had been pre-opened, perhaps? Anyway, Erin Valente went missing for 7 hours, then turned up missing for 5 days, then turned up dead. Dead in the back of her car, and there's no Dean Jacobson, no Jim Breyer. Jim Breyer had the job before Dean Jacobson, and Jim Breyer's wife, Angela Chow, she turned up dead in an irrigation ditch outside of Austin, Texas, next to Lyndon Baines Johnson's ranch. It's a 2,700-acre ranch that Angela Chow died on. That's a 999. Takes 3 nines to make a 27. 999. It's like Alan Wilson dying on Highway 27. It's a number 9 freeway, right? Number 9 in Topanga Canyon. Number 9, number 9, number 9. All right, so we're going to discuss the fabric. Our society is based on what people believe in, right? So if you believe in Bitcoin, you believe in flat Earth, you believe in the moon landing, you believe that Charlie Manson killed Sharon Tate, you believe that Lee Harvey Oswald, acting alone, killed John Kennedy, if you want to believe that all this pollution that's behind my head here, that's a natural product of climate change and CO2 emissions, that CubeSats from SpaceX and Starlink and Elon Musk, that came from gasoline combustion engine? Is that what you believe? Or that you believe that CubeSats are a conspiracy theory? Or that if it was important, it would be on the television news, the nightly news, with Walter Cronkite, Tucker Carlson, Rachel Madcow, Sean Hannity, that they're going to report that there's NATO planes flying over your town, attacking you, something like 100 times a day, 70,000 attacks over the last year and a half. You think the news media is going to report that there's weather warfare and that smart dust biosensors can be used to alter the weather, temperature, wind velocity, hurricanes, can boost things like they're on steroids, destroy your beaches, wreck your condos? You think weather warfare is going to be discussed on the news? Or is it going to be presented as just natural, that we normally have forest fires and mudslides, that we normally have turbocharged hurricanes, that we normally have hundreds of tornadoes, that that's just a normal thing, and that NATO and DARPA and HARP are just a bunch of nerds in a room, that they're not actually out there destroying our environment on purpose, deliberately? All right, so that's part of the matrix, is the concealment of the truth. So that's where we're going to start our video, is that all the things that you need to know about aluminum, smart dust, titanium, lithium, graphene, things that go into your flu vaccine, things that go into the hoax COVID vaccine, hoax COVID. There's no such thing as COVID. There never was a COVID pandemic. There was a fake plandemic. Plandemics are not pandemics. Don't forget, we had mad cow disease. We had the bubonic plague. Don't forget, we got monkeypox. Don't forget, we got the Omicron variant. Don't forget, we have 10,000 variants of COVID, and we have vaccines for things that don't even exist yet. That's how sophisticated our pharmaceutical industry is. They will sell you a vaccine for a disease that has not yet happened. We will vaccinate you against something we have no idea what it is. That's, you got to be dumber than a box of hammers to believe this absurdity. It's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Yeah, if you're retarded, if you're augmented, yeah, you can believe anything, right? Believe that Martians are invading and they're going to remodel your home for free. You can believe that Martians are going to remodel your home for free. Or they're going to give free whiskey away at your local liquor store that won't have graphene in it. People believe anything. It's not only is it easy to fool people, people want to be fooled. People are fools. Fools want to be fools. Fools and their money don't stay together long. All right, so first you conceal the truth. The truth is you're under attack, aerial, space, breathable air attack. Your water is polluted. Your farm animals are polluted. They're vaccinated. They're injected with graphene. And whether it's a research farm associated with University of California, Davis, or whether it's your local farmer who has to deal with Monsanto and deal with the state licensing requirements for his feedlot and his processing centers. Processing center is a polite term for slaughterhouse, feedlots, fattening up the animals before they're turned into sausages, hamburgers, and egg McMuffins, or if they're turned into double doubles, right? The double double. Burgers, triple burgers, double burgers. So after we conceal the reality of the weather, the meteorologists are lying to you by not telling you about all this pollution in the air. They just think it's another smoggy day in paradise, right? So every single person on radio, television, newspapers, magazines, and books, all published books, are going to conceal this. They're going to conceal this, which is smart dust, which is brought to you by Joy Weiss and Christopher Pister and DARPA and Dust Networks in Hayward, California, and Coast Aluminum, their vendor where they get the aluminum chalk, and other vendors who provide graphene and rubber and plastic products that get mixed into the recipes of the smart dust. That's all been concealed to you except on the Juxtaposition channel, where I'll give you the street addresses, and I have in many videos. I'll give you the websites and the street addresses off Industrial Parkway Boulevard where you can go and visit, And you could ask to speak with Joy Weiss, or you can ask to speak to Christopher Pister. His father was a chancellor of University of California College Systems. I think his father's passed away. Anyway, Stanford Research Institute International, the RAND Corporation, DARPA, International Telecommunications Union, IEEE, the Institute for Electronics and Electrical Engineers, they're all in on it. They're all in on what's behind my head. And so is Elon Musk with his Neuralink. He wants to chip you like a chimpanzee, like a primate, right? Chip you like your doggy, chip you like a kitty cat at the vet. They want everybody chipped. They want everybody inhaling the smart dust. They want you traced and tracked and targeted 24/7. They want QR codes in all of your merchandise you buy at the hardware store or at Whole Foods or any grocery store. Everything's going to have a QR code. So the tires on your car, motorcycle, bicycle, we can trace and track and target the purchaser of those rubber tires, GPS. And we want your money system to be GPS tracked. That's the point of central bank digital currency. That's the point of cryptocurrency, the hyperledger system, which is trace, track, and targeted military weaponry. The difference between cryptocurrency and bank-issued digital currency is that there's no difference. Okay, they've been mind melded together. They're the same thing, presented differently. In other words, if it's GPS trackable, they own you. You have an obedience money system. And if you don't obey and you don't stay within your 15-minute grid, your money is turned off. All right, so after concealing the truth about our banking system, which is run out of Switzerland, after creating scapegoats in every industry, everywhere, people that have no authority, every single person in American society can be thrown under the bus. Any one of them can be turned into a scapegoat unwittingly, or they can even volunteer to be a scapegoat. Whether your name is Charlie Miles Maddox, and they rename you after a porn company called Manson International, and you become Charlie Manson, you're theirs to do with what they want. If your name is Timothy Leary, they do the same thing with him. And he went to West Point Academy. He was a cadet at West Point. Or if your name is Sharon Tate and you get murdered because your daddy worked for Army intelligence, that's your problem. Same with Nicole Brown Simpson. Her daddy worked for Army intelligence, Army airborne spy pilot. Not that different than Sharon Tate's father. Not that different than John Benet Ramsey's father. John Ramsey, he's Navy intelligence, Office of Navy Intelligence, like Ron DeSantis is, like John F. Kennedy was. You know that John Benet Ramsey's older sister, Elizabeth, she was murdered first 4 years before little John Benet, age 6, was garroted. It was Elizabeth who was murdered in a car accident in Cicero, Illinois, which had been like around 1992, 4 years before little John Benet. And Elizabeth was the eldest of the 5 children that John Ramsey had. His eldest child, who was a female child, a daughter. And then his youngest child, John Benet, was murdered 4 years later. You think that's a ritual murder? You think that's monarch? You think that's satanic ritual abuse? You think that involved sex abuse of children? Yeah, it did. Absolutely it did. And it's not a joke, but the media conceals most of what you need to know about the John Benet Ramsey murder, and they concealed everything you need to know about the Sharon Tate murder. And they concealed a boatload of information about the Nicole Brown Simpson murder. Even though I do believe O.J. Simpson committed the crime, there are military intelligence operatives in every direction you look in the O.J. Simpson case. So even though O.J. was guilty, there's dozens of other people who control O.J. who are complicit in the murder of Nicole Brown, believe it or not. Yeah. I mean, they laid back and they let it happen. Because O.J.'s under 24/7 surveillance. And not just with Cato Kalin. I'm talking Carl Colby, the son of the CIA director, is next door neighbors of Nicole. So don't tell me that it's a low level of surveillance for O.J. It's a very heightened level of surveillance. But the sad thing is the level of surveillance that applies to O.J. Simpson or Oliver Silverstein Stone or that applies to Timothy Leary or Charlie Miles Maddox Manson is now today applying to you in the here and now. Because by tracing and tracking your money and tracing and tracking using molecular communication, by hooking you up with the smart dust and hacking your body area network, everyone is being surveilled continuously for their behavior and their social obedience score. You have a social obedience score as part of your digital twin database file. Dossier. All right, let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. After concealing all the relevant truth and circumstances that you need to know to understand the world in which you're living, to understand your weather, your temperature, to understand, what's going on in your society, what is the fabric, they conceal everything that's relevant and important. Then what do they do instead? They heap upon you mendacity, balderdash, and poppycock, which is a theatrical, scripted television show. And they turn your life into the Truman Show. And the way they do that, I got the leaf blower coming back now, just right when I'm getting to the good part. I want to take some examples of people like Anton LaVey, whose real name is Howard Stanton Levy, a Jew from Chicago, who was the founder of the fake church, military intelligence, Church of Satan. Anton LaVey. He was substituted out for Marco Aquino, who was a colonel in the United States Army, just like Sharon Tate's father was, just like Nicole Brown Simpson's father was. We have Michael Aquino. And he sort of took over the Church of Satan by renaming it, rebranding it the Temple of Set in San Francisco, Haight-Ashbury. Michael Aquino was a member of the Church of Satan, so I'm one of the few people that was a member. I think they had 5 members. We have Zena. Zena is the daughter of Howard Levy. Zena LaVey. But she got married to Nicholas Schreck. And Nicholas Schreck joined the Church of Satan along with Anton LaVey's daughter, Zena. So we have Zena Schreck and Nicholas Schreck. They have acting experience. They took classes in acting. They're actors. And so too did Howard Levy. He's an actor too. And so is Michael Aquino. He's an actor. In other words, he's not a leader of a church. He's an actor. And he's working for the military, which is NATO. He works for NATO. He's NATO intelligence. Anton LaVey, NATO intelligence. Zena Schreck, Nicholas Schreck. They work as subcontractors for NATO intelligence. Then they go on talk shows, okay? And their message is disseminated across all platforms: newspapers, magazine articles, books, fake book authors, and television. And in the case of Michael Aquino, he did the Oprah Winfrey Show. He worked with Geraldo Rivera, who's a Jew from Brooklyn, who had a bar mitzvah in Brooklyn. Geraldo Rivera did shows where he promoted Michael Aquino. And so too did Sean Stone, the son of Oliver Silverstein Stone. He did an extended interview with Michael Aquino before Michael Aquino was murdered, done away with, killed in the Marina District of San Francisco not long ago. Not that long ago. I think 2019, Michael Aquino went bye-bye. But not before Sean Stone did an interview with him. I guess he did that just before he did an interview with me. Juxtaposition. Anyway, Michael Aquino is a clown, okay? And he's not in charge of any satanic church, okay? That's an act. That's an act. And the idea that Sean Stone and Geraldo Rivera and Oprah Winfrey would take him seriously and present him like he's a threat to our public safety, that's a felony crime, in my opinion. If you are a podcaster and you interview these frauds like Michael Aquino, like Anton LaVey, Howard Levy, who supposedly quit high school at going to Mill Valley's Tamalpais High School and in his junior year quit to join the Clyde Beatty Circus in Florida, are you crazy? The elaborateness of the fabric of the mendacities of the Matrix are extraordinary. That's the key to success. They want to create these cover stories, which are quite elaborate, so that you'll think it's true. Because if it was false, then, you could pick it apart, right? But they give you dozens of layers like an onion so that you think that this long-winded story is true. And that's the story of Michael Aquino. That's the story of Anton LaVey. And by the way, that's the story of Timothy Leary. Timothy Leary, the tune-in, turn-on, drop-out maven of LSD, electroshock treatments, department head status for psilocybin at Harvard University, cohort and partner with PhD Jew Richard Alpert of Stanford University. Timothy Leary has a PhD from University of California, Berkeley. That's the story of Melvin Belli. It's the story of Bill Graham, whose real name is Wolfgang Jonka. It's the story of Grace Slick, Jerry Garcia, the Grateful Dead, Hunter S. Thompson, Peter Coyote, not his real name, not his real name. Peter Coyote, I'm going to get to him in a minute. Ken Kesey, Steve Miller Band, Carlos Santana, Sonny Barger, Jim Jones of the People's Temple, Patricia Hearst, Huey Newton of the Black Panthers, Dick Cavett, Merv Griffin, Janis Joplin, Yoko Ono, John Lennon, Charlie Miles Maddox Manson. They're all actors in the circus. They're all actors. They're fake. They're synthetic. They're not organic. They're not real. They all work for COINTELPRO. Johnny Carson, Bill Maher, Whitney Webb, Jane Rubenstein, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, Dave Rubin, Danny Bongino. Fake! Tucker Carlson, Stu Peters. Give me a break. Fake, fake, fake. Arnold Screw Your Freedom Schwarzenegger, steroid beauty pageant queen, steroid gubernator Jesse Ventura. Fake. Fake. And all their cohorts are fake. All their cohorts are fake. Like Abby Martin. She's fake too. She works for a fake organization. RT, Russian television. Fake. COINTELPRO. Fake. Everyone works on RT. Fake. RT News. Fake. ABC, CBS, NBC. Fake. Walter Cronkite. Fake. Rachel Madcow. Fake. Bill O'Reilly. Fake. I think Rachel Madcow and Bill O'Reilly are the same hologram. Donald Trump. Fake. Stormy Daniels. Military intelligence porn. Fake. Kamala Harris. Fake. Her Jew husband, the only reason she has a Jewish Hollywood entertainment lawyer husband is because he had sex with his babysitter on his first marriage, and that Jewish woman divorced her Jewish husband for cheating with the nanny, and then he was available to marry Kamala Harris. I mean, why have an election with all these dysfunctional COINTELPRO actors? Kamala Harris, COINTELPRO, fake. Willie Brown, fake. George Moscone, fake. Dianne Goldman Feinstein, fake. Barbara Boxer, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, Rand Paul, Ron DeSantis, Gavin Newsom, fake, 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 fake. Jerry Brown, Jerry Moonbeam, fake. His father, Edmund Brown, fake. Ronald Reagan, fake. That's how you build the fabric of our society, through mendacities, poppycock, and balderdash. And you have to have crisis actors to help make it seem real. When it's fake, it's synthetic. That's why the military intelligence leans hard on actors. And before all of those people I just mentioned, we had Aleister Crowley. That's not even his true name. It's Andrew. His name is Andrew Crowley. That he's an Egyptian mysticism Satanist, right? No, he's fake. He's fake. Mark Twain, fake. Jack London, fake. F. Scott Fitzgerald, fake. Henry Miller, fake. Theodore Adorno, not his real name, fake. Mae Brussell, fake. Her father, Edgar Magnan, fake. Albert Brooks, he's Albert Einstein, he's fake. Super Dave Osborne, his name is Robert Einstein, he's fake. Their father, Harry Einstein, he was an unfunny comedian. Fake. Bob Hope, fake. Bing Crosby, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, fake, 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 fake. Gene Simmons, fake. Van Halen, fake, cover band. The Beatles, fake, cover band. Fake. The Archies, The Archies. Sugar, sugar. A cartoon. A cartoon. Is that real? Yeah, it's a real cartoon. It's a real cartoon that's fake. The Monkees. Fake. Thomas Albert Decker. Fake. I hope I'm communicating here. 100% of every person who you've seen presented on television is fake. Every person you've heard on the radio is fake. Michael Savage, he's a Jew from New York. His name is Wiener. It's Michael Wiener. But he changed his name to Savage because it sounds more masculine. Wiener doesn't sound masculine. It sounds kind of sissy, right? My name is Michael Wiener, and I'm a conservative Republican. There's no such thing as a Republican Party. There's no such thing as democracy. There's no Democrats. There's only Swiss bank fascism out of Geneva. That's what you got. You live in a Hunger game. You live in a Hunger game. The media is not going to report that you live in a techno-enslavement prison. And you're enslaved by your money system, your GPS tracking, your Fitbit, your smartwatch, your smart glasses, your insulin pump, your heart rate monitor, your Garmin, your Strava, all the thousands of applications to trace, track, and target you, carrying your mobile phone around with you like a monkey. You know, you're like a dog without a leash if you don't have your cell phone. What do you think a cell phone is? It's a leash, and you're the dog. It's like a boat without an anchor. It's like a king without a castle, a queen without a throne. Don't you get it? You're tethered to the cloud. They are tethering everyone to the cloud. A king without a castle, a queen without a throne, a boat without an anchor, a dog without a leash. That's called liberty and freedom. That's liberty and freedom. If you have a castle, you're in a gilded cage. You're imprisoned in a gilded cage. If you have a throne, you're not in a yogi pose. You are not free to practice your religion. You're in the Clyde Beatty circus. You're in the Clyde Beatty circus, like Mort Saul was, like Robin Williams, who got garroted, was, like David Carradine was, like Anthony Bourdain was, like John Benet Ramsey was, like Thomas Albert Decker was. They were all garroted. And they take people like Timothy Leary, who worked with Abigail Folger's mother, and he worked directly with Sharon Tate's father, Colonel Paul Tate of the Army, and Timothy Leary was in the Army intelligence, and they inject him into Hollywood. They get Timothy Leary a Screen Actors Guild card like they did for Melvin Belli, and they inject them into Star Trek episodes. You know that Did you know that Timothy Leary appeared in episodes with Bruce Willis in Moonlighting, The Adventures of Briscoe County, Frasier, the television show Frasier, the television show of a little Jewish girl called Blossom, History 101, and had numerous appearances on the Merv Griffin show. He was in the Star Trek episode The Way to Eden. And Melvin Belli was in the Star Trek episode with William Shatner entitled And the Children Shall Lead in 1968. Timothy Leary was in the Star Trek episode The Way to Eden, which was released February 21st, 1969. So Timothy Leary and Melvin Belli, who, if you remember, railroaded Jack Ruby into felony murder of Lee Harvey Oswald, which is very unclear that he did kill him. I think he could have been killed at Parkland Hospital, euthanized there. But in any case, Melvin Belli is a COINTELPRO lawyer for maritime law, NATO crimes. And he was involved with the railroading of Jack Ruby, and he appeared in Star Trek. And he lived on Broadway in San Francisco and was neighbors with Abigail Folger's mother, Enos Mejia. Melvin Belli lived on the same exact block as did Enos Mejia, who is the mother of Abigail Folger and was the boss of Timothy Leary and all things having to do with getting your reimbursement for your expenses in Haight-Ashbury, Enos Mejia. And she is neighbors with Gordon Getty and Dianne Feinstein, on Broadway, which backs up to the Presidio Army Base. And that's not far from where Michael Aquino breathed his last breath. In the Marina District, which is down the hill and slightly to the east of where Melvin Belli lived. It's also where Fritzi Benesch had a beautiful home, and I spent a couple hours talking with her. She's Jewish, and she created the Benesch Children's Clothing in San Francisco with her ex-husband. She also had a beautiful home in Belvedere, which I visited once. And the stories that she could tell, and the lawyer scumbag in San Francisco, the lawyers, plural, who controlled her fortune, her vast fortune, was totally controlled. All these wealthy people are totally controlled. They do not have access to all their money. Whether your name is Gordon Getty, whether your name is Bill Gates or Jeffrey Bezos, or if your name is Peter Thiel, or your name is Eric Weinstein, you are not in control of the money, honey. Look at Austin, Texas. We got Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Patrick Bet David, Lance Gunderson Farmstrong. I mean, how many is that? Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Patrick Bet David, Lance Farmstrong. Those are 4 social engineering COINTELPRO agents in Austin, Texas, along with Jim Breyer and Breyer Capital, and Angela Chow, who was murdered outside of Austin, Texas. You got Howard Stern in New York City, Manhattan. You got Tucker Carlson, Stu Peters, Bill Maher, Chelsea Handler, David Rubin, John Leibowitz Stewart. They all changed. A lot of them changed their names so that they fake you out. Anyway, they're promoted because they rotate amongst all the shows, right? They did that in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and they do it today. So you'll see, look at the guests of the Alex Jones show. You'll see Brother Nathaniel will go on the Alex Jones show. Then he goes on to talk to Tucker Carlson. Then he talks to Stu Peters, right? Brother Nathaniel's name is Milton Kapner. He's a Jew who pretends to be a Russian Orthodox Christian, living in Frisco, Colorado, where there is no Russian Orthodox temple. Only you have the Aspen Institute and Woody Creek and Hunter S. Thompson and Dakota Johnson and the Aspen Institute and Vail, Colorado. That's what you got where Brother Nathaniel hangs out. It's military intelligence. The only kind of church that Milton Kapner belongs to is Military Intelligence Church. You got fake churches, Church of Satan, Temple of Set, Church of Scientology, Process Church, Hare Krishnas, Church of Synanon, Heaven's Gate, Lion's Gate Porn, Branch Davidian, the Roman Catholic Church, the LDS Mormon Church. Fake, 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 fake. The Holy See, the Vatican City, Pope Francis, a fascist pope from Buenos Aires. All you have is fascism, circus clowns everywhere you turn. And they rotate them amongst the so-called channels, you know, the Johnny Carson show, the Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. He didn't own the show, and the show is controlled by Freddie DeCordova, who was the Jewish producer, executive producer of the NBC Tonight Show, was Freddie DeCordova. He, before that, controlled Ronald Reagan. Bedtime for Bonzo, Bonzo Goes to College. Ronald Reagan's manager was the Jew, Freddie DeCordova. For many years, Ronald Reagan had a Jewish arts and repertoire manager, Freddie DeCordova, as did Johnny Carson. And what's comical is when they appear on each other's shows, they act like they don't really know each other. When they all are in the same club and have done business together, they're laughing when you go to commercial. They're just high-fiving each other. William F. Buckley of Yale and Skull and Bones, he pretends to not know who E. Howard Hunt is. E. Howard Hunt is his former boss at the CIA. You know that when William Buckley graduated from Yale, he went to Mexico City to the State Department embassy where he worked for the CIA, was on the CIA payroll. His supervisor was E. Howard Hunt in Mexico City for at least 2 years. E. Howard Hunt was involved with the John Kennedy assassination. E. Howard Hunt's wife, Dorothy Wetzel Hunt, she paid the shooters, all the people that fired rifles that day, and provided safe houses for them. Dorothy Wetzel Hunt and E. Howard Hunt. Then he's later involved and arrested and convicted in the Watergate burglary, E. Howard Hunt. And he's the godfather of William Buckley's only son. The godfather is E. Howard Hunt. And he went on firing line with William Buckley, and they pretended to not know each other. And they've known each other for 20 years. And he's the godfather of his child. And they pretend to not know each other. That's how dishonest television is. And that was public television, right? You can trust public television? No, you can't. Grant provided by Monsanto Corporation? I don't think so. No, no, no. There isn't a scintilla of difference between public television and advertising-based cable television. It's the same thing. And there's not a difference between social media channels like Alex Jones and ABC or CBS, the evil Masonic unblinking eye, or NBC. They're all the same. They're all the same controllers. So there's an acting job. Yoko Ono appearing on Dick Cavett. Huey Newton, head of the president of the Black Panthers, appearing on firing line with William Buckley. Mark Levin Lane, a man who changed his name to sound less Jewish, to talk about the Kennedy assassination, appearing on the William Buckley firing line show. It's a total joke. Noam Chomsky, he's a joke. His name is Avram Chomsky, appearing on the firing line William F. Buckley show, where they pretend to disagree with each other. They're in the same club. Noam Chomsky is buddies with Jeffrey Epstein. He's buddies with Woody Allen. He's buddies with William F. Buckley. They're all in one private, secret club. Jim Jones of the People's Temple, receiving letters of praise from Ronald Reagan and Jerry Moonbeam Brown. They're in the same club. Jim Jones in Jonestown is the same thing as Ronald Reagan is to the White House. An act. It's an act. That's what I'm trying to get through to people on my channel, is that these phony, fake presenters like Johnny Carson or Jay Leno or Bill Maher or John Stewart Leibowitz or Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Dr. Drew, Adam Carolla, Stu Peters, Jane Ruby, they're just COINTELPRO hubs to recycle people who are professional actors like Brother Nathaniel, Milton Kapner, like Timothy Leary, like Melvin Belli. He's an actor. Like Bill Graham of Bill Graham Presents. He's an actor. Grace Slick of the Jefferson Airplanes. Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead. Okay? Peter Coyote. Let's look at Peter Coyote because he's bamboozled a lot of people. Peter Coyote. Not his real name, right? His name is Robert Peter Cohen. He's Jewish. He has the same, almost the same exact name as Cass Elliot. That's not her name either. She's Ellen Naomi Cohen. And Peter Coyote is Robert Peter Cohen. And he really was in a cult. He was in a cult before he joined the Haight-Ashbury Project in San Francisco. Robert Peter Cohen was born in New York City as a Ashkenazi Jewish family of Sephardic Jewish descent. And he went to San Francisco State University. He was a crisis actor for the Haight-Ashbury Project. He certainly would have known Abigail Folger's mother. He would have known Sharon Tate's father. He was in films such as Jagged Edge, Cross Creek, Patch Adams, Aaron Brockovich, A Walk to Remember, Femme Fatale. He's supposedly an actor, director, screenwriter. I'll tell you what he is. He's COINTELPRO military intelligence. That's what Peter Coyote is. He's a voice of narration on many documentaries. I would not trust any of the documentaries that he's associated with because of the fact that he is deep cover. And he was in a cult himself when he was younger. And I got it right here somewhere. Not different than Winona Ryder. Winona Ryder was in the Rainbow Colony. By the way, her name is Laura Horowitz. She's a Jewish girl, and her godparents are Timothy Leary is her godfather, as is Richard Alpert. She has two godfathers, both COINTELPRO Army intelligence officers. Richard Alpert and Timothy Leary are the godfather to Laura Horowitz that you know as Winona Ryder. And you know that River Bottom is his name, River Bottom Phoenix. He was murdered at the Viper Room. He was in the Children of God cult in Laurel Canyon, as was his brother, his younger brother, Joaquin Phoenix, who's married to the girl with the dragon tattoo. And they live off Los Filos, close to where Lena LaBianca was bayoneted to death, across the street from where Aleister Crowley used to live. Aleister Crowley lived on Los Filos Boulevard. And so does Brad Pitt, and so does Jack Black, and so does Sarah Silverman, and so does Lena LaBianca's mother, Karina. And also Lena lived in the Walt Disney Mansion, which is above Los Feliz Boulevard, below the Hollywood sign. And Aleister Crowley lived there. And it's just hilarious how many murders. Thomas Albert Decker lived there. He was garroted and killed there. Lena LaBianca was bayoneted there. Trying to think who else. There's other murders there. Thomas Albert Decker, and then the young woman, age 39, was recently killed there. Also, off Los Feliz Boulevard near Franklin Avenue. Peter Coyote was injected into the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was 100% of a hoax event. The 13 days of October, right? 13 is unity amongst Masons. Cuban Missile Crisis, fake event. So, of course, you have to have a fake person like Peter Coyote to be involved. Oh, my God. It's just, when you get into this, you can't unsee all of the connections, because it's actually, they're hiding in plain view. They're actually not hiding at all. It's just people don't believe that it's a matrix of mendacity. They believe that the media is telling you facts and circumstances. They're not. They're not. Narration is Peter Coyote's meal ticket today, and he's fake and phony. And he's reading a script that was prepared by others. And I can't find the cult. He was involved, of course, with the Diggers, which is an anarchist fake group, COINTEL. He was active in Haight-Ashbury Project around 1965, 66, 67, Summer of Love. He was involved with the Summer of Love. That was a COINTEL project, COINTEL. That's counterintelligence, if you didn't know what COINTEL is. It's to disinformate and to confuse the clueless profane. Peter Coyote was raised in a highly intellectual and culture and unreligious family. They don't want you to think he's Jewish. That's why they say that it was unreligious. And then while he was attending Grinnell College before he went to San Francisco State, so he's like 18, 19 years old, a decision was made to change his name from Robert Peter Cohen, which is very Jewish, to Peter Coyote, after he ingested some peyote. Peter Coyote ingested peyote, so he changed his name to Coyote. I don't believe any of this stuff. Counterculture activities, which are all COINTELPRO. He was part of the San Francisco meme troupe. He participated in the counterculture community in and around Haight-Ashbury, San Francisco, which is Presidio Army Base. That's the Church of Satan. That's the Process Church. That's the Hare Krishnas. That's Transcendental Meditation. It's all the fakery of COINTELPRO. He was best known to be a resident of what's called the Black Bear Ranch commune in Siskiyou County, California. That's very remote area up near the Trinity Alps area and rivers, and it's very sparsely populated. There are Indian tribes there. The Black Bear sounds like they're taking the native people's name. This is a COINTELPRO operation. The Diggers was evolved into a group that became known as the Free Family, which established connections to other communes and cults in and around the Pacific Northwest. That'd be the Rainbow Colony. That would be the People's Temple, the Greenfield Ranch. That would be Leonard Lake and Operation Miranda, which is snuff films. That would be the Black Bear Ranch, the Rainbow Colony, the Church of Synanon. Those are all communes in and around Northern California that stretch from Marin County up to Siskiyou and Mendocino counties. And there's Peter Coyote being rotated around, just like Charlie Manson was, just like Jimmy Jones was. So Peter Coyote looked like he could have been blamed for the Sharon Tate murder. Peter Coyote. He looks like he's way better suspect than Charlie Manson. Peter Coyote, Robert Peter Cohen, he could have been blamed for the Nicole Brown Simpson murder. He could have been blamed for the John Kennedy assassination. He could have been blamed for the Robert Kennedy assassination. He was around. He could have been blamed for Martin Luther King, right? He lucked out that he didn't have to go to state prison. He could have been involved with the Zodiac killings. He could have been involved with the Leonard Lake and Charles Ng mass murders. 25 people looked like they were killed. Charles Ng got convicted of 11 of the 25. And, he went to really expensive prep schools. And he was a United States Marine. Leonard Lake, United States Marine. Frank Sturgis, United States Marine. Right? It's always another red flag when a person has peculiar names like Victor Davis Hanson, Hoover Institute, University of California, Santa Cruz, Stanford University, PhD. E. Michael Jones, Lee Harvey Oswald, 3 names, right? Larry David, 2 first names. G. Gordon Liddy worked for the FBI. He arrested Timothy Leary at the Millbrook Institute in Hudson Valley. G. Gordon Liddy, he was one of the Watergate burglars, along with Frank Sturgis and E. Howard Hunt. E. Howard Hunt, Frank Sturgis, G. Gordon Liddy, all arrested and arraigned for breaking into the Democratic National Committee office in the Watergate multi-use complex. Frank Sturgis, E. Howard Hunt, G. Gordon Liddy. They're all COINTEL Pro. They're in multiple operations. They're involved with Bay of Pigs, involved with Cuban Missile Crisis. They're involved with the JFK assassination. They're involved with Watergate. They're involved with probably hundreds of other burglaries that we don't know about. Daniel Ellsberg, the Rand Corporation. They're all actors in the show. Don't you get it? Melvin Belli is in Star Trek. Timothy Leary is in Star Trek. That means they're Screen Actors Guild card members. Ronald Reagan, he's a professional actor with a Screen Actors Guild. So is Donald Trump. Okay, so there's not a millimeter's worth of difference between anyone that you see presented in national media or podcasts. All right, let me check the time here. Okay, 47 minutes. My rant is coming to a conclusion. The fabric of our society is based upon a matrix of mendacity. The matrix of mendacity seeks to exclude what's really going on in your world, which is that NATO planes are dumping on you every 10 minutes, 16 hours out of 24 hours every day. The only reason they're not dumping on you 24/7 is because the planes will fall out of the sky. They have to refuel the planes. They have to repair. The wear and tear maintenance is required. And otherwise, they would be dumping 24/7. The airplane traffic over the North Bay of San Francisco is at a preposterously absurd level. And none of my neighbors notice the noise. They don't hear the noise. They don't see the planes, which are visible. They don't see the polluted sky. They don't see the blinding glare of the sun. They don't see the LED photonics streetlights. They don't hear the ringing in their ears from the 6G terahertz bouncing off the 7G smart grid mesh. We are on 7G terahertz system. We are not on 5G. They have 5G equipment, which you've seen, the cell towers, which are hidden close to your town square, and then the ginormous towers at the edge of your town, which are also hidden. They put fake ponderosa pine trees up to obscure your view of the 5G equipment. But they're not running 5G on it. They're running 6G terahertz on it, which, when married up with all this aluminum graphene smart dust, creates a full spectrum dominance molecular communication apparatus where they turn every human being into a 5G tower. Only they're 7G towers. Every person who's vaccinated and full of graphene and has sucked up metric tons of this dust is their own 7G communication antenna. They themselves are an antenna. And they generate a certain amount of electronic frequency unto themselves. They don't require the 5G network to function. Once you're augmented, you are a lethal weapon. Once you're augmented, you are a lethal weapon. You are a 5G tower operating with 6G terahertz in a 7G biosphere. That's the point of today's video. Everything I just said, you will never hear on Alex Jones. You're never going to hear it with Whitney Webb or Tucker Carlson or Stu Peters or fake nurse Jane Rubenstein. You're not going to hear anything that I just said on their channels. Take care. Have a great day. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.